Happiness is not what you think, and it's not what you've been told. It's a brain function. With a healthier brain, always comes a happier life. In this program, psychiatrist and founder of Amen Clinics, Dr. Daniel Amen, author of You Happier, the 7 Neuroscience Secrets of Feeling Good based on your brain type, will show you how you can be 30% happier in just 30 days.
Thank you. Do you feel less happy than just a few years ago? You are not alone. Due to the global pandemic, Americans are the unhappiest they've been since the Great Depression, and it's causing big problems. Unhappiness releases the stress hormone cortisol, which increases belly fat, shrinks the memory centers of your brain. Unhappiness increases heart disease, lowers immunity, speeds up aging, and causes people to increase the consumption of alcohol, marijuana, and sleeping pills, which all lead to a harder, shorter life. That is so sad. But this show is about happiness and the opportunity you have to transform your life by taking ownership over your brain and mind, even when it seems like the world is crumbling around you. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal one of the major little-known secrets to happiness. Want to know? And it's not what most people think. It's not more of something, such as more money, houses, or cars. Too many people are possessed by their possessions. It's not happy hour, Happy Meals, or marijuana, and it's definitely not sugar. These are the fixes that fail. Happiness starts in your brain and then flows through your nervous system and bloodstream into every cell of your body. When you're happy, you feel it from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. You feel it in your core. Stay with me, and I'll show you how to use your brain to be 30% happier, have more energy, and even a better memory in just 30 days. Don't take notes, because I'm going to give you a way to have all of this information and more. Hi, I'm Dr. Daniel Amen, and I've been helping people be happier for more than 40 years. At Amen Clinics, we see people from all over the world who want to feel better. They often come to us because they're struggling with anxiety, depression, ADHD, or an addiction. But the one thing everyone has in common is that they all want to be happier. And that's my mission today, to teach you what I've learned from helping tens of thousands of patients. How many of you want to be happier? Some people think seeking happiness is selfish. I used to think that until I saw a video by Dennis Prager titled, Why Be Happy? In it, he says, happiness is a moral obligation. He says, whether or not you're happy, and most importantly, whether or not you act happy, is about altruism, not selfishness, because of how we affect others. Ask anyone who was raised by an unhappy parent or married to an unhappy spouse whether or not happiness is a moral issue. And I assure you, the answer will be yes. My wife Tana and I recently led a 30-day happiness challenge based on the 7 neuroscience secrets of happiness I'm going to give you today. Over 32,000 people signed up, and after a month, their happiness scores went up 32%. Plus, there were significant increases in memory, self-confidence, and over a 30% increase in energy. What would you do with 30% more energy. And they did it in just a few focused minutes a day. That made us very happy. Take it from Deborah, who wrote, "Before the happiness challenge, I was severely depressed and on medication, which was not helping. I had lost my way and my purpose in life. Everything you taught about the brain resonated with me. I am looking at life with renewed hope. You literally saved my life." Researchers typically report happiness is associated with genetics, novelty, good relationships, laughter, and gratitude. Yet most happiness research completely misses the foundational secret to happiness, the actual physical functioning of your brain. At Amen Clinics, we do a nuclear medicine study called SPECT that looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how the brain works. It basically tells us three things about brain activity. Is it healthy, underactive, or overactive? The image on the left shows the outside surface of the brain, which in a healthy scan shows full, even, symmetrical activity. The color is not important. It's the shape that matters. In the image on the right, red shows the most active parts of the brain, which in a healthy scan is typically in the back bottom part of the brain in an area called the cerebellum because it has half the brain's neurons. Over the last 30 years, we've built the world's largest database of SPECT scans for a wide variety of brain health issues. We now have more than 200,000 SPECT scans on patients from 155 countries from 9 months old to 105. Recently, the Canadian Association of Nuclear Medicine, a prestigious scientific body, endorsed brain SPECT imaging for a wide variety of psychiatric and neurological indications, which made me so happy. Last year, we did a study on 500 consecutive patients to see if we could find happiness in the brain. We gave them the Oxford Happiness Questionnaire and compared the SPECT scans of people who were happy with those who were unhappy. Our research showed the healthier your brain, especially in the front, in an area called the prefrontal cortex, the happier you are. In these images, the unhealthy brain on the left, with the holes indicating areas of low blood flow, was seen most commonly in unhappy people, while the healthy brain on the right was more closely associated with happy people. Which brain do you want? If you want to be happy, it is critical to optimize the physical functioning of your brain. Meet Stephen Hilton, who suffered with depression for most of his life. As a child, he remembers often feeling sad for no reason. In school, Stephen often felt disconnected and dropped out early. At 16, he found methamphetamines and said it was like the light came on in his head. By 18, he switched to alcohol. And even with his addiction and depression, he was still able to work on the music for many amazing movies, including Fast and Furious, Moulin Rouge, and 2 James Bond movies. After he got clean, the depression persisted. I met Stephen after evaluating his wife, comedian Laura Cleary, who came to see us for trouble focusing, anxiety, and dark thoughts. As she got better, she sent Stephen to see me. As part of his evaluation, we did a SPECT study which showed a prior brain injury with damage to his right prefrontal cortex and temporal lobe. In his history, Stephen told me he had fallen down a flight of stairs when he was very young. Could the early fall have been the hidden cause of a lifetime of sadness? Absolutely. Undiagnosed brain injuries are a major cause of unhappiness, as they are associated with anxiety, depression, ADHD, addictions, homelessness, and suicide. Despite seeing many psychiatrists, psychologists, and other therapists, this part of his history was never addressed because no one had ever looked at his brain, which I think is insane. How do you treat an organ you haven't evaluated? After just 2 months of repairing his brain, using the 7 neuroscience secrets of happiness, including targeted nutraceuticals geared to his brain type, learning to manage his mind, plus bright light therapy, which has been shown to support mood, memory, energy, and sleep, Stephen felt happier, more hopeful, and more in control of his own emotions. With a better brain, always comes a better life. If you want to be happier, it is critical to assess your brain and then optimize and keep it healthy. In the program materials, we have assessment tools for you to know about the health of your brain. How do you know if your brain is headed for trouble? Here are 6 warning signs. 1, if you're unhappy. Did you know that depression doubles the risk of Alzheimer's disease in women and quadruples the risk in men, which also quadruples the stress on the caregivers they'll need? 2, your memory is worse than it was 10 years ago. If so, there's an 80% chance that it will continue to get worse. 3, you have high blood pressure. 4, high blood sugar. Or 5, you are overweight. All of these are known to shrink the brain. Or 6, if your energy is low. If any of these symptoms apply to you, now is the time to get serious about brain health. Want to know another secret? If you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it if it's headed for trouble, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors that steal your happiness. And the good news is that all of them are either preventable or treatable. And more good news, by addressing these risk factors, you will not only be happier, but you will also have better energy and decrease your risk for Alzheimer's disease. Your brain's history is not your destiny. We developed the mnemonic Bright Minds to help our patients know what to do. There is a Bright Minds poster in the program materials for you to assess your risk factors and know how to improve them. For now, let me give you 6 quick Bright Mind tips that are scientifically proven to increase your happiness. 1, physical activity. Whether you enjoy walking, swimming, or playing table tennis like me, physical activity increases blood flow, has anti-aging effects, decreases genetic risk factors, helps eliminate toxins, improves your mood, boosts your hormones, and improves sleep, and helps you stay trim. Wouldn't that make you happier? Exercise also grows your hippocampus, which is involved with mood and memory. If you engage in new learning while exercising, such as learning a language while walking, you'll be happier and smarter. Bonjour, mon ami. 2, a happy brain diet, which I'll talk about soon. improves all of the Bright Minds risk factors and brightens your mood. 3, surprisingly, probiotics can help. They can help calm inflammation, decrease anxiety, boost your immunity, and help you lose weight. Sounds like a recipe for happiness. 4, bright light therapy has been shown to improve blood flow, may have anti-aging effects, and has been used to help memory, improves mood, energy, focus, and sleep. 5, saunas can make you happy. They have detoxifying effects, can decrease inflammation, and have been found to boost your mood after just one session. They also have been found to boost your immune system and improve heart health and blood flow. Whatever is good for your heart is also good for your brain. And 6, know and optimize your vitamin D level. Vitamin D boosts immunity, mood, and helps with weight and blood sugar control. Low vitamin D is associated with a smaller brain, and people with low levels had more trouble with COVID-19. At Amen Clinics, we've scanned hundreds of patients who had COVID-19. Their scans often showed increased activity in the limbic or emotional brain, which leaves people more vulnerable to anxiety and depression. Here is a before and after scan of one of my patients. But using the information in this program helped her feel better. But you have to work at it every day. Like physical health, brain and mental health is a daily practice. Take it from Catherine, who did our 30-day happiness challenge. I've had my share of life-shattering events beyond this pandemic. It was an epiphany to realize a happy life just doesn't land on your doorstep, nor is it the responsibility of others to give it to you. You must work at it every day. I now feel armed, and with these tools, I can hold myself accountable for my own happiness. You and your loved ones can be happier too. When I come back, we are going to explore the second and third secrets of happiness. How to find your brain type, all of us are different, and what strategies and supplements might be best for your type. Remember, it is your support of public television that makes this show possible. Your gift will make us happy, and research shows that giving will make you happy too. I'll be right back. Here's another testimonial from our 30-day happiness challenge. Mary wrote, "My brain is sharper, my decision-making is better, I laugh a ton more, and I have more self-confidence." You can too. Your brain is going to change. It is. It's going to get better than it is today or worse. But the good news is that you have a hand in it. You get to pick what kind of brain you'll have down the road. And I want you to pick a healthy brain rather than an unhealthy brain. And that's the first secret to happiness I discussed in the last segment. Get your brain right, and your mind will follow. In this part of the program, I'll talk about brain typing and supplementing your unique brain. These are the second and third secrets to happiness. Knowing your brain type can help you understand what makes you uniquely happy or unhappy. At Amen Clinics, we first discovered brain types after we started our brain SPECT imaging work in 1991. At the time, we were looking for individual SPECT patterns for anxiety, depression, and ADHD, but soon discovered that none of them had just one pattern. They all had multiple types that each required their own treatments. That made sense to me because not all depressed people are the same. Some are withdrawn, others are angry, and still others are anxious or obsessive. Some people got better on Prozac, but it made others worse. The scans helped me understand the type of anxiety, depression, or ADHD you had, so we could better target treatment to your brain rather than just a cluster of symptoms, which dramatically improved our ability to help people. We also realized that we could see personality traits in scans and discovered 5 primary types: balanced, overall healthy activity in people who tend to be emotionally balanced; spontaneous, low activity in the front part of the brain in those who tend to be creative, but also easily distracted and impulsive; persistent, with high activity in the front. They tend to be tenacious, rigid, and can't hold grudges; sensitive, with increased activity in the limbic or emotional centers. They also tend to be deeply empathic, but also vulnerable to depression; and cautious, with increased activity in the fear centers, often due to childhood trauma. They tend to be prepared, but also anxious and can easily startle. Here's an example. I once scanned Jim, the head of the local Alzheimer's Association, who wanted to learn about our work with memory problems and dementia. When I asked Jim about himself, he refused to give me any information, saying he only wanted me to tell him about himself from looking at the scan. I told him that was not how we practiced. We always put the scan in the context of a person's life. But again, he stubbornly refused. The front part of Jim's brain worked way too hard, which correlates with our persistent brain type. In front of his wife, I said, okay, you tend to be persistent, goal-oriented, and follow through with whatever you start. Jim nodded his head. Yes, yes, yes. At the same time, I said, you can be worried, rigid, and inflexible. You also tend to hold grudges and can be argumentative and oppositional. While I was saying this, his wife nodded her head, yes, 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 and yes. Who knows someone like Jim? There are a lot of persistent brain types among medical doctors. Brain typing explains so much. It helps us understand why you do what you do and why others do what they do, what makes you and others happy or unhappy. Again, don't worry about taking notes. I'm going to give you an easy way to get all of this information and more. Before I discuss the brain types, I want to talk about the 5 chemicals of happiness that help us understand them. Dopamine is involved with pleasure, motivation, new love, and focus. It is the chemical of needing more because it makes us feel good. More sex, more money, more alcohol, more sugar. It's all dopamine. Dopamine is also released when we get an unexpected happy surprise. If you push on dopamine too hard with more and more of something, it wears out your pleasure centers, makes you feel flat, and you need more to feel anything at all. It's called hedonic adaptation and is involved with both behavioral and drug addictions. Serotonin is involved with mood, sleep, and flexibility. It increases when we feel respect and decreases when our feelings get hurt, such as when someone criticizes you on social media. Oxytocin is the chemical of trust. It has been called the cuddle hormone because it's involved with bonding, generosity, and social interactions. But it can also bond us so tightly. We become suspicious of those outside our group, which is why Red Sox fans hate the Yankees. Oxytocin gone wrong. There's actually a book titled Red Sox Fans Are From Mars and Yankee Fans Are From Uranus. Not my title. Endorphins are natural opiates to help us manage pain. They make us feel euphoric and are released when we push ourselves to pain, such as in a runner's high. Low levels are associated with depression and make people vulnerable to opiate addictions. GABA is the main inhibitory neurotransmitter. It helps to calm the brain and is useful for anxiety, irritability, and sleep. After the pandemic, we could all use a little more GABA. To be happy, we need a balance of all of these chemicals. With this information, answer the following questions to see which brain types may be at work in yourself or your loved ones. Do you tend to be focused? Have good impulse control? You generally stop yourself from saying the first stupid thing that comes into your head. Are you flexible? Positive? Do you tend to predict what will go right rather than just what will go wrong? You may have the balanced brain type, where you have a healthy brain and a good balance of the chemicals of happiness. Do you like taking risks? Do you love novelty? Are you easily bored, distracted, or have a short attention span? Do you tend to say things you shouldn't? Do you hate waiting in line? Do you love surprises and pranks? I once treated a man with this type who would quietly stand behind corners in his house and jump out to scare his wife whenever she walked by. He loved the charge he got out of watching her scream. Unfortunately, the stress caused his wife to develop a heart arrhythmia, which is when she brought him to see me. Treating him helped me save her life. If any of this sounds familiar, you may have the spontaneous brain type, which is common in firefighters, salespeople, people who hate office jobs, and those who have ADD. They could all use a little more dopamine. How about, are you strong-willed? Do you like being in charge and hate being bossed around? Do you like routine, tend to hold grudges, or do you say no without thinking? You may be the persistent brain type, common among doctors, lawyers, and accountants. My dad was this type. He was a very successful businessman, but the first word out of his mouth was always no. No matter what the question, the answer was no. Do you know anyone with this type? They could use a little more serotonin. What about, are you empathic and need to be socially connected? Was the pandemic really hard for you? Do you need to be needed by others? Do you struggle with your moods? Does quiet time make you happy? Does negative news make you really upset? You may be the sensitive brain type, which is common among therapists, nurses, and artists, and maybe lower in oxytocin and endorphins? Or are you prepared? Almost always on time or early to appointments. Not much of a risk taker, hate conflict, tend to predict the worst. Has COVID made you really anxious? You are likely the cautious brain type. Some anxiety is important because it helps us make good decisions, but too much can make you miserable. This type does better with GABA. Most of us have shades of several types, but one is usually primary. Which ones do you have? I like being the boss, but also hate conflict and need to be purposeful to be happy. There are 16 possible combinations of brain types. You can discover your type in the program materials, along with specific plans to help each one. The third secret to happiness is supplementing your unique brain every day. I've been a fan of using natural supplements for more than 30 years, ever since I ordered my first SPECT scan and saw that many psychiatric medications were really not that great for brain function. I always think, first do no harm. Now that I've described the types, how do we supplement them? The balanced type does best with a healthy diet, which I'll talk about in the next segment, and basic supplements, such as a multiple vitamin, omega-3s, probiotics, and vitamin D. The spontaneous brain type does best when we boost dopamine with a higher protein, lower carbohydrate diet, certain stimulating supplements such as green tea extract, rhodiola, and L-tyrosine. The persistent brain type does best when we boost serotonin, taking certain supplements such as 5-HTP or saffron can do it, as can bright light therapy. This type also does better on smart carbohydrate diets like sweet potatoes and colorful fruits and vegetables. Low carb diets, such as ketogenic diets, tend to make this type worse, as these folks will focus more on what bothers them. I was once on Rachel Ray, who told me she had this type. When she went on a low carbohydrate diet, she said she was so mean. She wondered why her husband didn't leave her. Who knew until now that going on the wrong diet for your brain type could damage your relationships? This is why you really need to know your brain type and the types of those you love and those you hate. It could be a brain thing. Sensitive brain types do better with bright light therapy and certain supplements such as omega-3s, saffron, SAMe, curcumins, and zinc. Let me tell you why saffron is sexy. It's been used for thousands of years, has dozens of studies showing it can boost your mood, it can lower anxiety, enhance your sexuality, and boost memory. Most medications to boost your mood decrease sexuality. Saffron increases it. I'm in. I take it every day, and many of my patients love it too. One of my patients, who is a teacher, wrote, "Going back to school during the pandemic was a brain buster. I've used saffron, and it really lifted my spirit and gave me the energy and grit I needed." My assistant, Kim, started taking saffron early in the pandemic, and the next day, her son asked her why she was humming. Kim hums when she is happy. For the cautious brain type, meditation, hypnosis, and diaphragmatic breathing can help, as can magnesium, theanine, and GABA. One of my favorite GABA stories happened during the pandemic. My wife Tana and I work together, and sometimes it can get tense. She has the persistent and cautious brain types. During the pandemic, the societal unrest caused a lot of anxiety for Tana, and I suggested she take GABA. A few days later, when we were working together, there was absolutely no tension between us. Afterwards, Tana looked at me and said, "It's amazing how smart you are and easy you are to work with when I take GABA." I make sure she has GABA every morning. It helps her and decreases my stress. Do you know anyone who could use a little GABA right now? How about you? Like medicine, supplements are not one size fits all. Taking the wrong supplements for your brain type can actually make you unhappy. Have you ever taken something that made your spouse feel great, but didn't work at all for you? Here is another one of my favorite comments from the Happiness Challenge. Rahel wrote, 30 days ago, I was so miserable, so hopeless, and so depressed. This has literally transformed my life, and now I feel joyful and look forward to each new day. You too can transform your life. When I come back, I'm going to give you the last 4 secrets of happiness plus 7 life-changing questions to ask yourself every day. Stay with me. Welcome back. Hear from Joyce from our 30-day happiness challenge. The timing was perfect as I needed a distraction while my husband recovered from hip surgery. I even shared some of your lessons with him and saw him make improvements with his relationship with our adult autistic son. That was the greatest gift. So far, we've talked about how brain health is the missing link to happiness. Brain exploration is the final frontier. With these ears, you can call me Spock. Maybe not. We also discussed how important it is to know your brain type and to supplement your unique brain. In this part of the program, I'll discuss the last 4 neuroscience secrets of happiness. Secret number 4, choose foods you love that love you back. You are in a relationship with food. How many of you have ever been in a bad relationship? I have, and it ruined my happiness for a long time. I am not going to do it anymore. I am married to my best friend who adds to my happiness. Being in love with foods that hurt you is like being in love with someone who mistreats you. Too many people tell me they love ice cream, donuts, cookies, fries, pizza, pasta, and alcohol. I call them the weapons of mass destruction because all of these are addictive and shrink your brain. Your brain is the only organ where size really does matter. These are sad foods that increase inflammation and the incidence of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, depression, and dementia, which are all happiness killers. Here's a list of happy foods. Colorful fruits and vegetables, especially avocados and blueberries. Dark chocolate. Beets, as they increase blood flow to the brain. Happy fats, including healthy oils, fatty fish such as sardines and salmon, and nuts and seeds. Herbs and spices, especially saffron, turmeric, and cinnamon. Foods loaded with fiber, such as asparagus, leeks, and garlic. And immunity boosters, such as onions, mushrooms, and garlic. Now, compare those to the sad or standard American diet foods that make people unhappy, including most baked foods, fried foods, highly processed foods, high glycemic, low fiber foods that quickly turn to sugar, such as sugar, bread, pasta, potatoes, and white rice. People who have these foods as the primary staple of their diets have a 400% increased risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. That'll make you and everyone who loves you unhappy. I know some of you are looking at the unhappy foods and thinking they look delicious. Again, that is like being in love with someone who hurts you. That is the mindset you must have to get and stay healthy and happy. In the program materials, we have a brand new You Happier cookbook to make eating for your brain type easy and delicious. Colin, one of my young patients with the persistent cautious brain type, also had Tourette's syndrome, a tic disorder with both motor and vocal tics. It made him and his parents very unhappy. He was teased at school, which only made the tics worse. I put him on the You Happier diet, loaded with happy foods and eliminating the unhappy ones, which decreased the tics by 95%, which made us all happy except Colin. At our next meeting, he looked sad and told me he didn't like any of the foods on his diet. I asked, "Is that true? You don't like any of them?" And he said yes. I then told him that it was our goal to go on a treasure hunt to find at least 20 foods he loved that loved him back. We went to the grocery store and actually found 57 foods he loved that also loved him back. He has now discovered that he loves over 150 foods, and there is no more whining about what he eats. He is calmer, has friends, and his self-confidence is the best it has ever been. Food is a critical piece to the happiness puzzle. All you need to do is be like Colin and find foods you love that love you back. But many people are programmed from childhood to use low-quality, toxic food to celebrate or soothe their unhappiness. And it takes a little bit of an effort to change. Here is a picture of my favorite birthday cake ever, made by my assistant, Kim. That was an act of love. There is no suffering in getting happy. Get your food right, and happiness will follow. Neuroscience secret of happiness, number 5. Master your mind and gain psychological distance from the noise in your head. Where you bring your attention always determines how you feel. If you focus on loss, you'll feel grief. If you focus on fear, you'll feel afraid. If you focus on being belittled, you'll feel small. However, if you focus on gratitude, you will feel grateful. If you focus on those you love, you will feel loving. And if you focus on the times you felt joy, you will feel joyful. When I think about gardenias, hummingbirds, and butterflies, I feel happy. Your ability to manage your thoughts and master your mind is essential to feeling happy. Yet it wasn't until I was 28 years old and in my psychiatric residency that I learned I did not have to believe every negative thought I had. Thoughts come from all sorts of places. They come from our ancestors and are written in our genetic code. They come from our parents and siblings, friends and foes, from our intimate relationships. I always have Tana's voice in my head. They come from the news we watch and the music we listen to. It's not the thoughts you have that make you suffer. It's the thoughts you attach to. Research shows that gaining psychological distance from the noise in your head can lead to more positive emotions, better self-control, even wisdom. One psychological distancing technique I love is to give your mind a name. Have you thought of a name for your mind? Giving your mind a name allows you to choose whether to listen to it or not. Just like you can choose whether or not to listen to your spouse or anyone else. When I first learned this technique from Dr. Stephen Hayes, I knew almost instantly that I would name my mind Hermie after the pet raccoon I had when I was 16. I loved Hermie, but like my mind, she was a troublemaker and got me into a lot of hot water. She once TP'd my mother's bathroom, and when my father got home, Mom said, "Louie, it's either me or the raccoon." My dad had the persistent brain type, and no one ever told him what to do, and he told my mom not to let the door hit her in the rear. That was a bad day. A few months later, Hermie ate all of the fish in my sister's aquarium. Another bad day. And Hermie would periodically leave raccoon poo in my shoes as a gift of love. I often imagine Hermie holding up signs in my head with random negative thoughts, such as, "You're an idiot," "You're a failure," "You're a fool." None of that is true on most days. Knowing that I am not my thoughts, I can choose to ignore Hermie, metaphorically put her in her cage. If you give your mind a name, you don't have to take yourself so seriously. You can gain psychological distance and be happier overall. What name would you give your mind? Michelle, from the 30-Day Happiness Challenge, named her mind Mickey and said, "It's fun to yell at her when she is trying to make me think junk food is happy food." Neuroscience secret number 6. If you really want to be happy, use your brain to improve your relationships by noticing what you like about others more than what you don't. Research shows that when you consciously bring positive attention to others, everyone is happier. In a study of over 11,000 people, researchers found that better relationships help to prevent depression, ease anxiety, and help you live longer. If you want a better relationship, notice what is right way more than what is wrong. Married couples with 5 times more positive comments than negative ones are significantly less likely to get divorced. And a business team with 5 times more positive comments than negative ones is significantly more likely to make money. When you notice what you like about others, you reinforce those behaviors, which will make you so much happier. And the last secret is number 7. Activate your frontal lobes to live each day based on clearly defined values, purpose, and goals. In order to be truly happy, you have to tell your brain what you want and be specific. What values, what purpose, what goals do you want to live by? Write these out and post them where you can see them every day. When I ask my patients what they want, most people talk about their jobs or money. But happiness is so much more. I do an exercise with my patients called the One-Page Miracle, where people write what they want in their relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. It's called the One-Page Miracle because when people do it, when they write their intentions, when they tell their brain what they want, not what they don't want, they are much more likely to manifest it, especially if they begin to match their behavior day in and day out to their goals. For example, what do you want in your relationships? I know with Tana, I want a kind, caring, loving, supportive, passionate relationship. I always want that, but I don't always feel like it. Sometimes Hermes shows up with rude thoughts or hurtful comments to say to her. But when I filter my behavior through what I want, I put Hermes in her cage and act in a way that fits my goals. That is a prescription for happiness. What do you want? Do your behaviors fit your goals for your relationships, for your work, finances, and health? As we come near the end, here is a summary of the 7 surprising neuroscience secrets of happiness. With each secret, I'll also give you a life-changing question to ask yourself every day to remember what you learned. These are the prescriptions for happiness that resulted in being 30% happier in just 30 days, along with a 30% increase in energy. Secret number 1, optimize the physical functioning of your brain. Brain health is the foundational secret of a happy life. Happiness question number 1, whenever you come to a decision point in your day, ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? It only takes about 3 seconds. And if you can answer this question with information and love of yourself and your family, you will start making better decisions. Secret number 2, know your brain type and what makes you uniquely happy. Some people like jumping out of airplanes, while others of us would never do so unless the plane was on fire. Question number 2, am I focused on what makes me uniquely happy each day? Secret number 3, supplement your unique brain. Question 3, am I supplementing my unique brain every day? Know the supplements that help your specific brain type. And secret number 4, choose foods you love that love you back. Question 4 is so simple, but so profound. Do I choose foods today I love that love me back? You are in a relationship with food. Is it helping or hurting you? Secret number 5, master your mind and gain psychological distance from the noise in your head. Question number 5 is it true? Whenever you have a negative thought, challenge it, talk back to it, and don't allow the random noise in your head to steal your happiness. Neuroscience secret number 6. Use your brain to improve your relationships by noticing what you like about others more than what you don't. Question 6. Ask yourself, am I reinforcing the behaviors I like or the ones I don't like in others today by what I notice? You are powerful in your relationships. Are you using your power for good or not? And secret number 7, activate your frontal lobes to live each day based on clearly defined values, purpose, and goals. You have to tell your brain what you want, not what you don't want, and then act accordingly. Question number 7 is, does it fit? Does my behavior fit the goals I have for my life? If you can answer this question with information and love, your life will be so much happier. You can do this. None of this is hard. It just takes the program and consistent effort over time. Being sick or being unhappy or losing your independence, that's hard. Hard on you and hard on everyone around you. Remember what Catherine said from our 30-day happiness challenge. You have to work at it every day. When you take responsibility, you can dramatically improve your happiness in just 30 days, the way she and thousands of others did, including Mimi, who said, my happiness score went up dramatically. I have gained new tools to use when the world threatens to crush my spirit. You taught me how to keep happiness in plain sight. Are you ready to take charge of your happiness? Yes. Remember, happiness is not frivolous or selfish. It's a moral obligation. It's a moral obligation because of how we affect others. You do not have to be a victim of the outside world that's filled with depression and anxiety. You can take control. With these tools, you can be happier at any age, starting today. The best way to help ourselves is to help others. Teaching you today how to be happier makes me happier. Now it's your turn. Pass it on. Take what you've learned and share it with people you care about. And remember, it's your support of public television that made this show possible. May God bless you. I'm Dr. Daniel Amen.